So section 2 of Unit 4 is dealing with quadratic functions, but now we're going to talk about vertex form of a quadratic function. And the vertex form is kind of similar to how absolute value stuff was set up when we were graphing them and stuff like that. So it's going to be f of x equal to a, and then parentheses h, or x minus h squared plus k. And our vertex is going to be very similar. Well, it's the exact same as how our vertex for absolute values were. It's going to be hk. And you have to make sure you notice that this is negative h in the original formula, or the original form, the general form. When we plug it in, it's just h. So whatever that sign is for h in parentheses, you have to flip it. And that's the vertex, and then that vertex tells us that our axis of symmetry is x is equal to h. So whatever our vertex x coordinate is, that's what our axis of symmetry is, and then vice versa. And a will tell us the width and direction of the parabola. And so the reason we use this form is because it shows the vertex on the quadratic function in respect to its parent function, which its parent function is like the original, or like the general form, the original function of this. Now, it asks us to do some transformations and stuff, and we're just not going to worry about that right now. We're going to go ahead and get into graphing when using this vertex form. So the vertex form, the first thing you're going to do is very similar to how we did standard form. You're going to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry, which you really don't need the axis of symmetry as much as you need the vertex. And our vertex comes directly from here, which is h, and here, which is k. The only thing is you have to make sure that when you pull out this h, the sign flips. So it's -2 in our equation, and when we pull it out, it becomes +2, and then k just remains the same. So your h is going to come from what's actually in the parentheses of what's being squared, or to the exponent of 2, and then whatever it'll either say, like +3, -3, that'll be what k is. So that's our vertex. Once we've found that vertex, we can just put that in the middle and go ahead and graph that, and then we can find our points above it, below it, from our x values, plug those in and figure out what our y values are, and that's how you graph it. It's pretty simple. And I like this a lot better because we don't really have to do all the calculations to find the vertex and axis of symmetry, because it's already there. So we're going to graph this at 2 up to 3. So over 2, up 1, 2, 3. So it'll be about right there. Actually, let me zoom in because I cannot see it. All right. So over to 2, up to 3. There we go. That's better. All right. Now we're going to plug in some x values to figure out what our y values are, and that'll give us all the points we need. So we're going to go with 1, 0, because that's 2 below 2. Then we'll go 2 above 2, so that's going to be 3 and 4. Now, once you plug those in, you'll get these values. And I'm going to let you plug those in because they're not really hard. You're literally just taking these x values and plugging them in and seeing what you get. All right, so when you plug 0 in, you end up getting 7. When you plug 1 in, you end up getting 4. And then you also get, when you plug in 3, you get 4. When you plug in 4, you get 7. So then we're just going to go through and graph all those points. So let's see, we're going to start off at 0, 7. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be right here. That would be 0, 7. 1, 4 would be 1 on the x-axis up to 1, 2, 3, 4 on the y-axis. That'd be right there. And then 3, 4 would be right here. And 4, 7 would be right about there. And we just create our U-shaped curve, our parabola. That's how it would look, which mine's going to be a little bit sloppier than yours, but you should get the gist of it from that. Alright, and then I'm going to do one more for you. So let's look at number 9. So the first thing you're going to do is look for your vertex. And your vertex is going to come from whatever is here in the parentheses. In this case, we don't have any parentheses here. So that means that's just going to be 0. So our H is going to be 0. And then our K is going to be this -4 here. Because it's just that value, that x squared minus that. So whatever's plus or minus that, that's what K is. And we just take it out like it is. So it's going to be -4. So our vertex is -4. So we put that in the middle. And we graph that. So that's going to be at 0 on the x-axis to -4 on the y. So 1, 2. Let me zoom in. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That'd be right there. Alright, now we need some values below, some x values below 0. So we're going to go -1 and -2. And then we need 2 more above 0. So we'll go 1 and 2. Now, like I said before, you're just taking those values, those x values, plugging them in for x here. Whatever you get out is f of x, or that's your y coordinate when you're graphing it. So for -2, once you do that, you'll get 0. -1, you'll get -3. For 1, you'll get -3. And for 2, you'll get 0. And then we're just going to graph those. So if we want to graph -2, 0, that's going to be right here. 2, 0 is going to be right there. And then when we graph -1 down to 3, we'd get it right there. And then 1 down to -3 would be right there. And that's how our parabola would look. So I think this is a lot easier than standard form just because you're not doing as much calculations.